Hello, Felcher, and welcome you all to Fanning the Brigid's Flame, a workshop in working with Brigid or Brigid, as she is known here in Scotland, the woman, the saint, the goddess, as she is known in Kildare or Kildare. So I have got my notes to keep me on track. I welcome you all. Felcher Nabrijanow. Welcome, St. Brigid, to this workshop. I don't know workshop in Gaelic, so I'll want that. I'm pretty sure it's just word for word. So, all I do. So I thought we'll begin by sort of a little background into St. Brigid or St. Brigid or Brigantia, as she's known with many names. So we'll go back, we'll start from the beginning to as present day as we can, in a brief overall. So Brigid or Brigantia, or as she's known in Gallo-Roman as Britannia. She is a goddess, a deity, which is renowned in Gaulish stone scripts. She is known in mostly, she's like sort of carried on through mostly Gaelic culture as to Brittonic, like Welsh. So she's more in Gaelic culture and it's probably carried on through there. And she's sort of a sovereignty goddess, and I believe even our island that we know today is named after her. It is Britain is an anglicized version of Bretagne, Brigid's flame, or the heart of Brigid. We believe that the word fire, tain, which comes from Old Irish, would have had like some similarities to saying the heart or the center, because in old days, especially within Iron Age, the fire, unlike today where your fireplace is in your middle of your room against the wall, it would be your center point of your roundhouse. So it is the center. So they reckon that in Old Irish, tain for fire would have also meant heart, or to the center of the hearth or the home, which is why we've got Bretagne or Britain as is anglicized. We have, like I said, Gallo-Roman, Britannia, which you can still see on old coins, and is glorified through the British Empire. We won't go through that, politics of that. But also she is known really, as much as we don't know much of how she's relayed in Gaulish culture in Gaul, but we do know through the Ulster cycles and mythology of the Tuatha Danann, of some of her mythos. So as a kind of lowdown, the Celtic or the Gallic deities, or I like to call them ancestors. Oh, sorry, Michelle, could you just mute your mic, please? So yeah, as a slowdown, it's sort of a shortcut with Celtic or Gallic deities. They are not like the Greek or classical, where they're like, this is a deity of this, this, and that. You pretty much have to read through the folk tales, the mythology, to sort of get what they're all about. And it's probably why I think I see them more as of ancient ancestors glorified through folk memory of the Celts and recorded through the monks. And again, probably adapted for that. So in the Tuatha De Danann cycles, Brigid is the daughter of the Dagda. The Dagda is the second king of the Tuatha De Danann. the people, the shining ones of Ireland. She is known as being a smithess, so she is good with working metal. In fact, there is many stories that said that she is so good that she can charm the fire itself of the kiln, and she can mend all metals. She can even enchant swords as she makes them, so that they will be victorious in battle. She's also seen as a poet, someone who is, or a bard, bardach, is someone who is good with poetry and song, and her very voice, and can change the seasons, much like Dagda's harp can change the emotions and seasons. So is her music. She's also known as a great healer. She is one other than Nechten, and I think it's Kulabad. She is also one of the matriarch of physicians and healers of the Tuatha De Danann. And that's really, as far as the stories go, there's very little mention to her other than what I've just sort of noted down. However, she seems to be quite an important deity for when Christianity comes along, which is in a form of Celtic Christianity, as we frame it now, or term it now. She seems to be quite a powerful sort of figure, a deity, because it seems that she's been carried on through Christianity at that time. And a lot of the mythos that we see in the Tuatha De Danann, we see it carried on through the mythos of her sainthood. So the connections with healing and holy wells, and being a nun. She was a priestess, a warrioress. The connection of fire, that it is all carried on through her sainthood up through Christianity. It seems that through the people, and a lot of the time, if a spirit or an ancestor or deity was strong and important to that society, she's doing my nine. That the Christianity was willing to adopt that. So when we look at her sainthood, she is connected with Kildare, or Kildare in Ireland, which over 6 years ago I had the privilege of visiting, and I went to the centre there for St. Brigid, or St. Brigid, called Solace na Brigid Centre and Hermitage, where the Brigidine sisters there attend the Perpetual Flame St. Brigid, which was lit in 1992. And this was, oh God, she bit my back. And this is, Joy's having a dog. So, and when the relighting of the Perpetual Flame of St. Brigid, this is connecting to a ruin in the now chapel of St. Kildare. And this was a temple which was said to be tended and guarded by, owned by St. Brigid, and there lit a fire that never went out. And it was a fire, that perpetual fire, the grace of God that became to it. I think the story is like a lightning bolt sent from God struck a fire, and she saw it as a St. Brigid saw it as like the God sending forth a holy fire. And these fires that she attended in the fire temple, that remain still are there to this day, never went out. It was a sacred flame that never went out by itself. She attended to it. It had the power to save, to bless, to cure the poor, to and people within the area of Kildare and surrounding areas of Ireland would go all around to the fire temple of St. Brigid to kindle their own fires on the new year or Samhain. But yes, there's other legends which so one favorite legend of mine is, I mean, first of all, she was said to be the first to open a cell. A cell is an old word for a chapel, a monastery, which was housed both monks and nuns, which was not a thing back then. And we're talking about we're talking about the 6th and 7th century here. So, you know, there's the segregation with women and men, nuns and monks, but she was the first to do this. It also was a monastery that encouraged the arts, so poetry and song and dance, as well as like the saintly worship of, you know, the godly worship of saints and Jesus Christ and whatnot. You need to stop. But yes, sorry, she distracted me. And so how she came to have the land where she built a monastery or the cell, the chapel, is that she came from a little town, I can't remember, near Kildare, in honor of God, because she was enlightened by God. She had the flame of God, which was a lot popular back then. The idea, ow, stop it now. The idea that, you know, you can see of early medieval depictions of saints or people and martyrs and mystics, they have fire around the head, and that is the imagery of having the fire of God, the spark of inspiration and divinity in you. So she went from this town from there and came to a place, and what landed her by the oak, which was the oak that which inspired her, and with some kind of omen, I can't remember, that was told to her through the oak that she should build a monastery. She broaches the High King, or sometimes in some stories the High King, or sometimes it's the Lord or the Prince, and he laughs at her, and she said, like, you know, he refuses to give her land for free, even though it is for God. He's like, you know, even this is for godly cause. Nah, you're not having any free land. Like, that's not how it works here. And that's what the High King or the Lord said to her. So she said, no. So he said, I'll do you a deal. And Joe, thinking that he could outwit St. Brigid, he said, as far as you can throw your cloak, that is how much land you can have. Now, what the Lord didn't know, or the High King didn't know, that her cloak was made of magic, blessed by the Holy Spirit. So it was magical. So when she threw her coat down, the cloak stretched wide and wide, miles and miles. And he was besotted. He didn't realize she had a magical cloak. So, of course, he had to, as much as he's probably kicking himself and shocked and bewildered, he still had to honor that to give the land of as far as her cloak stretched. So that's how she got killed there and built a monastery and her cell, a chapel, the fire temple and all that. And other legends carry on. And a lot of this legends from Tuatha De Danann you see appear again in like her sainthood. You are doing my nutting. Told you I can't do anything without this stuff. She loves my attention. But anyway, so back onto that. So, and also what is coincidental is that we know through old accounts, through the Roman calendar, that Imbolc, it being on the 1st, coincides with her feast day, St. Brigid's being the 1st of Feb. Again, coinciding with the Roman calendar, documenting the events of Britain, being the same event of the Gallic festival of Immel. So we see here, like, there's a connection. She may have had a very strong connection with the festival of Immel, to the Gallic, the ancient Gallic-speaking peoples of Ireland and various areas, to have the same day, feast day, as Immel. So we've seen this clash, right? So we're going there. So one thing for St. Brigid, or St. Brigid, I prefer her mostly as St. Brigid because that is what she's known in Gaelic Scotland. Some people call her Brigid or Bride or Bridie. There's many names. But yes, sorry, this dog is doing my nothing. She's gonna have to go out. Because you are being too distracted. Come on. Just go out for a minute. Sorry about that. She's like gnawing on my hand and it's distracting me. So she'll be fine. She's got her toys and her food out there. Anyway, so yeah, what I was talking about. So we're talking about St. Brigid. Brigid or St. Brigid, she is to me, and she is now, like you can see from her mythos, that she's pretty much a dual-faith deity or saint or woman, whatever you see her as. And she's great to bridging the gaps between paganism, like Gallic paganism and Gallic Christianity. She holds both mythos there. And for me, being my patron saint, it pretty much, she did bridge them gaps between, because on my journey, years and years ago, well over 20 years, no, about 15 years ago, I would refer myself as pagan, and I was always completely dedicated to Christianity, you know, and slated it down, all that. But I still believed it deep down. I still believed in the saints and the Holy Spirit and all the things that I was brought up with my Irish gran, who came from Kilkenny, and taught me a lot about St. Brigid and how to make crosses, and some of the legends as well. She taught me. So I was completely adamant against Christianity, and I would deliberately go against it. And it wasn't until I knew for my gran, even though she wasn't my gran's patron saint. My gran's patron saint was St. Peter, but I knew about her. And it wasn't until I first stumbled on Brigid as the goddess from the Tuatha down, and then following the roots of, you know, her sainthood, that it really did she helped me do a breakthrough, you know, that pretty much taught me that it's okay. You can work, you know, and believe in both Christianity and paganism. And it's where I we discovered that I'm very dual faithed, and that really animism is at the core of my belief than paganism. And that's why all sorts of spirits I honor and work with. So she is, for someone, if you like myself, who is dual faith, who's an animist, who doesn't have any particular practice, you know, religious practice, or like, you know, modern witchcraft, or, you know, paganism, who's just sort of lurks on the borderlines, then saints like St. Brigid or St. Brigid is the one to work with, because she represents all that is dual faith, that is in between these two, the old religion, the new religion, and she's changed face, you know, but she's still the same being, different shape, different clothing, but the same woman. And also we talk about St. Brigid, we see mythos there. She's then taken you know, she's known as St. Brigid, but it's pretty much the same thing as Bridget. You know, we have legends of in the Hebrides, you know, that, you know, Iona, the sacred spiritual center that where Celtic Christianity was based in Scotland, you know, she said it she came over from Ireland, bringing an oyster catcher with her, like traveling an oyster catcher, the birds, and setting up a monastery there. We hear like also the most famous one is, you know, and she's mentioned in the Carmelica Gallica, which we'll go on, I will go on to soon, as being the foster mother of Jesus Christ and the midwife of Mary. She's also known as the Mary of the Gaels, or the Gaeltacht. So we'll go on to that. So, you know, working with St. Brigid, and we're talking about the aspect of she's known as the Mary of the Gaels. You know, there's not much, if you look out there, there's not much idols or statues out there of St. Bridget, or other than the ones that you might see online with the goddess and she's triple aspect. Where in my mind, I don't think she's a triple goddess. It doesn't really, it's never really mentioned that in the legends and the mythology of the Tuatha De Danann. Just the attributes that she had, the three attributes of being a smith, a healer, and a poet. So somewhere down the line within neo-paganism, there's been some confusion that she's a triple goddess, which there's no evidence to put that through the mythology. However, again, the way you see St. Bridget or Goddess Bridget, or whatever, is your, you know, your path. It's your personal following. But yeah, being Mary of the Gaels, and there's not much imagery out there. You know, I used to, and I still do today, I just dress a normal, you know, Holy Mary image, because Holy Mary is, there's so many Holy Marys out there. There's the Our Lady of Grace, Our Lady of Perpetual Sorrow, there's the Black Madonna. No, sorry, something came up then. But yes, so the Mary herself is a sort of an archetype, even within, you know, Catholicism. There's Stella Maris, which is who I work with as well, because she is the patron saint of where I live. You know, so Mary is an archetype. So there's no problem in just getting a normal. This one's brilliant because this has a serpent at the end, and within the mythos of St. Brigid in Scotland, you know, the associations with the adder is very strong. You know, when the adder comes out the hole, so with St. Brigid, and so will spring. But yeah, get what as simple as get a Mary statue, a bit of tartan, you know, bit of tartan or whatever you like, and dress it within the symbols of St. Brigid. You know, maybe a picture of fire or a fire charm you could attach to her. Obviously, a St. Brigid cross, you could attach to a St. Brigid pendant or charm, or, you know, you can dress Mary. Mary is an archetype, so you can do that. So we'll go on to as well, like, as well as when we're on the subject of idols. So as you know, approaching is the Helig Nobrija is coming, you know, the feast day of St. Brigid or St. Brigid. And on the subject of idols, so it is traditional within Gaelic culture to have a straw doll, which is called Bridoch, which is called Little Brigid, or the Brigid icon. You can see mine here. It's just made out of reeds and dressed with some cloth. And then you have a Lebra Brigid. Lebra Brigid is the the bed of St. Brigid or St. Brigid. This one I've had for many a while, and you can see on here it just says it's got St. Brigid's cross. It says Lebra Brigid, St. Breed's bread, bed. I keep saying bread. On the sign, I say, Himed Mile Felcher, 100,000 welcomes, and then it's like Felcher Brigid on the side. So this is like within traditional Gaelic culture, and it's shared to our, our Irish, cousins. They do the same. So on the eve of St. Brigid, or St. Brigid's Day, La Heli na Brigid, you would make an effigy of of reeds representing St. Brigid, a bed made of straw. It could be anything. It could be a shoebox. It doesn't matter. It's the ritual. And on the eve, you sat out of the bed, you go to the front door, you knock on the front door 3 times, and you say, who is that? St. Brigid, St. Brigid, welcome St. Brigid, Felcher na Brigid, you're welcome in my home, St. Brigid, and you welcome her in. She's here to bring blessings. It is said that on the eve of her feast day, which is tomorrow night, she goes about the towns and the houses, blessing all that are honoring her or is calling out to her for her blessings and healing. So this is like, so you can see, even though within, Christianity, a community as Gaelic society that's predominantly Christian, this is very pagan, but with a, obviously a Christian taste. I just put like reeds. I put like rose petals and dried daffodils that I got from Lidl, the supermarket, to bring in that sweetness, to bring in that springtime, because she is a deity, spirit, saint, woman, are connected with springtime. We see that in the mythos of, the sort of mythology that bared its head in the early 1900s, that of Brigid and the Kaya, which is pretty much a new invention, but, a lot of people embrace that. So that's we put out by the fire. It's a way of inviting St. Brigid to your home. Obviously, as well, St. Brigid crosses are made. This is last year's one, made out of reeds. And these are renewed each year. They are set on fire, they're renewed, set on fire on St. Brigid's Day, and a new one is made on the eve and put outside, which I'll go on to in the next. I like to also, so these are the things like within tradition as well. So I have various things that I like to bless. So I've got a piece of straw I took from the manger, the nativity, from my local Catholic church. And this is an Irish tradition where mostly on Boxing Day night, you take from the nativity set a piece of straw and you put it in your wallet for good luck and protection. I pop this as well into the bed of St. Brigid, or the Brigid, the idol St. Brigid. I also have a relic of St. Brigid, which is said to be a piece of her cloth. We don't know how much that is true, but the power of belief, and the person who had it before me. Also, it was traditions that you would dress the doll with things that were pretty. So a shell, Corey shell, or a jewel. You could even put a picture, like a pendant of a serpent, since her connection with the serpent is very strong. The serpent itself in Gaelic culture is seen as like the serpentine powers of the land, the vital force of nature itself emerging from its hole and renewing itself. So, you know, in symbology. Also, there is rituals within the Hebrides where to ward themselves from harm. And this is a ritual done on St. Brigid's Day, not on the Eve. They would fill their stockings with peat, peat soil, and a whole ritual was performed by the eldest woman of the house and the youngest, where they would beat the stocking filled with peat as a way of awarding any kind of you know, future harm that may, you know, come about you for the coming year. So also the snake is, you know, coming from its biblical original form as being the original evil, you know, Samuel in the Garden of Eden. So also you will you'll have on the eve, these are Brigid, St. Brigid's and cloth. These are put out either on your trees, a thorn tree, or even put on your window ledge outside and piled down with rocks. For St. Brigid, when she's coming, you know, about the towns and the houses on the eve of St. Brigid, she blesses the cloth. And this cloth within Gaelic culture or Gaelic culture, it once is blessed. I've had this for many years. It's an old antique hanky, which I embroidered onto it, the St. Brigid's cross and her name, St. Brigid or Brigid. And these were used within Gaelic culture. These were used then once blessed in that day. They're used like they are put on the neck to cure sore throats. They are placed on the head to cure headaches. You know, water would be, you could, for a toothache, you know, you immerse it in water and rinse it out and drink it for a toothache, or swill it, you know, or placed in a burn to cool it down. They were used for great healing. So they're a really handy thing to have in your sort of